this beautiful Nevada morning as we ride up towards the Sierras here, which is not going to be our destination for the day, but I'm going to first start out with an absolutely perfectly normal BMW Starbucks stop. And I doubt there'll be any BMWs here this early in the morning, but you never know, so we'll make sure to say hi if there are. But my actual goal today is to try to reach Fort Churchill. Sorry, a little early in the morning. To just go check it out. It's on the Carson River. It was a major route for the wagon trains, and thought we'd just go take a look, see what the river looks like. Sometimes it actually almost dries up, depending on how much of a winter we've had. So thought we'd go take a look at that, play around a little bit. I'm on the Kawasaki KLX300 today, so a little bit different than my normal. And I'm hoping that the main door is open here. And we've been following these little very happy dogs all the way up. But anyway, hopefully they got the main door open so I don't have to go through the drive-through. But here we are. See, no BMWs. Boring. So yeah, Fort Churchill today, if we can make it, if we have enough time. I've got about 3 hours, so we'll go take a look. Virginia City out there in the distance. You can see the giant mine dumps down there. Absolutely crazy how big those mines were. And I'll post a picture of the type of interior support that they did, but essentially they weren't your normal tunnels. They opened up huge spaces under the ground, and everything was supported in like a catacomb or honeycomb, I guess would be a better description, honeycomb type structure. And it's kind of funny because some of them have collapsed under the town and swallowed cars and stuff. So, but massive mines. And here we are. Welcome to Virginia City. A fantastic tourist trap, but it's actually a little fun. I got some old high school acquaintances that work here, and honestly, it's a fun place. My wife and I come up here every so often. It's so close to our house. But always obey the speed limit here. The local sheriff will pull you over in a heartbeat. So here you go. Here's Virginia City in all its splendor. The part that survived fires over the years. Used to be just somewhere around 25,000 people in this town. As you can see, also, people are kind of just do their own thing here. Mornings are the best, though. You get to see everything. It's kind of nice where it's not packed with cars and you can kind of look around. No tourists yet because nothing's open. Just a quick pass through. And the very popular Catholic church here that everybody likes to photograph. Pretty cool. Not sure if the camera's capturing it well, but hopefully it is. So as we head down 6 Mile Canyon here, one of the things you can see is there's trees. And the reason there's trees is because they have water. And so 6 Mile Canyon had quite a few large gold and silver mills down in here. And as I've mentioned in some of my other videos, they used mercury to extract the gold out of the ore. Well, that creates a real problem because all that mercury, no matter how hard you try to contain it, gets a lot of leakage into the environment. So this whole 6 Mile Creek is contaminated with mercury. And which is bad enough, of course, because you don't want mercury in the environment, but all this water that's in this creek is flowing straight down into the Carson River, ultimately, at least during flood years, into the Carson River watershed. So the Carson River itself, and also because there were mills in Dayton and other places that were doing the same kind of processing, the Carson River is completely contaminated with mercury. Any fish in it are toxic as all get out. Don't eat them. You can catch them, you can release them, but definitely don't eat them. And then to make it even more complicated and messy is all the Carson River empties it into Lahontan Reservoir. which is really popular with the public for boating, fishing, you name it. But the fish in the lake, which are primarily bass, are also extremely contaminated. And you see signs everywhere, don't eat the fish, don't eat the fish. But you'll go and people are catching and eating the fish. So I guess if you want Mad Hatter disease, that's the perfect way to get it. Way out there in front of us is the Carson River Valley that was cut by the river through the mountains and the desert there. And that's where we're going to be heading. I don't know if this is showing up on the camera, but we'll be heading generally directly in front of us to those hazy hills out there. It really cut its a pretty good path through there. Now that definitely looks like a van that's going to be offering kids candy. Okay, we are officially on the dirt part of Fort Churchill Road. We've had a lot of rain out here for Nevada. I mean, it's been a little crazy. I've been getting these thunderstorms, so I'm hoping the road's pretty packed down, but at the same time, I'm expecting a lot of rutting and other issues. Oops, sorry, I was checking out my tire real quick. Felt weird. But anyway, yeah, you can see the puddles and everything up here. So as we ride along, we'll be dealing with that. Assuming I don't have a flat tire, because it does feel kind of funny. That'd be kind of annoying. Probably my imagination. But we'll get back to you shortly. And welcome back to the Ridgetop Dual Sport lousy riding video. Anyway, kind of just joking around, but no, tire was fine, no problem. I don't know why it felt squiggly. I think it's just this road's got these little weird ruts in it. But yeah, definitely got a little bit. Yeah, and the other thing about Nevada mud, it is slick. Oh man, that's crazy. Anyway, that was fun. You can see all the water they have out here and all the hay growing and other things. There's some really old ranches that we'll be passing here shortly. And been only out here for a long, long time. But nice and green. A little piece of Nevada that's a little different. I always go really careful through these ranches. These guys, they don't need the dust. I mean, they have the speed limit, the 15 speed limit here anyway, but no one really enforces it other than maybe at the point of a shotgun. So this particular ranch doesn't have anyone living in it anymore, I don't think, unless there's a house around the corner. You can see some of the cool buildings here up there. Oh, no, there's still someone here. There we go. Yeah, they got enough to deal with living out here without me blasting through their yard. Probably doesn't show up in the camera too much, but this whole valley's flooded, and then it's full of some kind of blue wildflower. Really pretty crazy. There's the mighty Carson River in the hole there. There's not much water in it this time of year. Ugh, jeez. Another one of the ranches out here, raising hay and alfalfa, taking advantage of the water they've got. Oh, where's these? They don't care about me. They look bored. Endless Nevada mountains. Somewhere right here, it may actually be this one right here, is the old California Trail for the wagon trains heading to the gold rush. Came right up along here and then took off across the valley to our left. And then ultimately ended up at Fernley, Nevada, where they crossed through and up and around the Pyramid Lake area, continuing on their way west. I think there was a couple spurs there. I know one of them followed the Truckee River, and when we were following the wagon sort of route, it seemed like it was heading north along the Truckee towards Pyramid Lake, but that may have just been a coincidence, or I'm imagining things. The old railroad. That railroad's a spur for this place that's coming up here. So this is a military vehicle testing facility up here. And from what I can tell, looking at what they've got lying around, they take different vehicles that the military might want to have or use, and they essentially just run them through our super hard course up here. Lots of trails, jumps, steep climbs, all these different things that they can take the vehicles and just try to wreck them to see how well they hold up. And the funny thing is, the road goes right through it, so you get to see whatever military vehicles are testing, so it's not exactly top secret. And you'll see old wrecked vehicles of all different types out here. It's kind of cool. Seems like a fun job. Go out and see if you can break something. You can see all the military vehicles. Looks like an old Lav over there. APCs of different types. I mean, a lot of these I may not have ever even entered production. And some of the heavier vehicles they use. You know, a pretty crazy place. And you feel like you're going to drive right in the front door. Here we go. Everything that they're playing around with right now. Old Humvees, some kind of, look there, a little landing thingy. Yep, lots of broken things. I think they test other vehicles too, I heard, you know, like civilian vehicles, see if they can break them too. You can see the different stuff in here. Yep, there's a bunch of old broken things. Not much left of those. Anyway, it's NATC. So if anybody wants to look up NATC, there you go. You know, as I'm riding along into the park here, as I was kind of fumbling around changing a battery out in the Osmo, one of the things I was really noticing is just how dead quiet it is out here. I mean, even with the homes further down and the park right here, there was no sound. It was just a little bit of a breeze blowing through, you know, around me that I could hear, but other than that, there was nothing. No birds, no planes, cars. It was kind of crazy. Just thought, wow, that is absolutely amazing. So there it is. There's Fort Churchill. And so each one of these buildings is labeled when you take the time to actually walk through it. But you've got barracks and, of course, repair shops they had, and, you know, stores, as in storage, and, you know, various buildings, headquarters buildings and things like that. And then the river itself is right down through here. So the river travels down through there, so that's where you have your water for everything. I'm sure they had wells here too. I imagine the groundwater is somewhat shallow with the river there. And then the California Trail came up from this direction and came up through here, went, you know, back on the route we were just on, and then curved off to the north to head towards Fernley and the Truckee River. And so by the time they got here, just down the ways, which we're not going to see because it's too far, but is the 40-mile desert, which is the infamous desert where a lot of people, you know, when they were crossing in the 1840s and 1850s, you know, they lost their lives from lack of water. And at times, they actually described it as sort of just a graveyard of trailers and furniture and other goods that people would dump to try to lighten the load, you know, of their oxen-driven wagons. The movies always show horses or mules, but almost all of the wagons back then were driven by oxen, of all things. And, you know, you had 40 miles of nothing but bad water or no water. And, you know, you're going through there and it's hot during the summer especially. And yeah, the wagon trains would have all sorts of problems. So then they would come here and work their way down here, and you would have water, of course, as they followed the last bit of the river up to this fort. So yeah, the Carson Sink, where this river ends, and the 40 miles of desert beyond was not a nice thing. But I'll tell you what, there's some great riding out there. There's Lovelock Cave, if people want to go see what the Native Americans were living in. And the sink itself has a lot of neat stuff around it. But that'll be for a different time and a different ride, and when it's definitely a little cooler out. So we'll go ahead and head on back, and if there's anything to see, we'll go ahead and take a look at it. But yeah, that was Fort Churchill. And actually, you know, I know what we can do. We're going to go take a look at another stop that was on the California Trail called Buckland Station. It's only a couple miles down here. So it's kind of a neat little place too, right on the river. So let's go take a look. So Buckland Station was built right here on the river. And we'll read its little historical thing here, but there you go. So you can see it was a really nice place. And really amazing, and they were able to keep it up here. So Buckland Station, let's take a look. So during 1860, Sam Buckland built a large log cabin and married Miss Eliza Prentice. In that same year, Buckland Station served as the assembly point for the volunteer units that took part in the Pyramid Lake Indian War. It was during this period that Buckland served as a remount station of the famous Pony Express route. 1864, he opened a store and dispersed goods to travelers, neighbors, and the soldiers at nearby Fort Churchill. He later constructed the large two-story house presently located on the site from materials obtained at the dismantling of the fort. Sam and his family are buried at Fort Churchill. So we saw the cemetery a few minutes ago. So that's interesting, and that's so funny. You see the sign. This is also known as Weeks, and Weeks is nothing but a flat spot on the river. And yes, I am in the wrong gear. Of course. What we got? This is a Sonora Trail. Now, okay, this one I didn't know about. So the Sonora Trail, a new route southwest. Cross the Carson River here, we leave the river, and we are on a new route southwest to strike the southern part of California, Sonora. We have General, Beauregard, and Bradford as our guides. That's interesting because Sonora Pass, I can't imagine getting trailers over that, so I'm not sure what the southern crossing point would have been. And then we're on the Carson Trail here, so yep, part of the California Trail, Carson Trail. This is one of the spurs. Okay, awesome. Well, another little quick, yeah, California Trail. There's the marker. Yep, a little thing right there. So, hey, perfect. Well, continuing on past this, actually kind of cool right now looking fort. And down the California Trail we go till it crosses off the road here in a little while. Not sure what these crosses are out here for. I'm guessing a car crash. People scream down these desert roads and hit these turns in the sand and stuff and get wiped out. It's kind of a shame. So just looking at that California Trail marker there, and the diary entry was that these bluffs are a real problem right here, that the narrow valley is very narrow, and so they had to cross the river in order to get through here. Of course, you know, they didn't have the heavy equipment to build this road that's here now. So you look, and these bluffs on the right were completely blocking them. They said it was really rocky, so everything in here was probably pure rock. They couldn't get through, so they crossed to the other side over, and they were able to get over there. It's interesting, in a different world where your heaviest tools were a shovel and a pickaxe, and you had to get your oxen and wagon through. But they were just happy to have water too, though. Here's the bluffs I think they were referring to. You can see all these boulders that would have been rolling down and blocking them. Crazy. I tell you, a breed of people that I definitely not sure I would have been as tough. think someone said there 200,000 people came through here, if I remember right. Just incredible. On a side note, here's a slightly better view of the Carson River, at least. There, now we can actually see it without getting down in sand and mud. And there you go. So it is flowing, you know. You can imagine the wagon train. So they said they crossed over and we're going up that other side, which would make sense. So they would have had to cross the mud and sand themselves. Yeah, pretty amazing. But I'm sure the mic's showing that if I shut up, just how quiet it is. Okay, well, there's our moment of silence. Now we're going to fire it back up and be on our way. Whoops. Yeah. If I can handle this differently than I do the K-dub, or the T-dub. And hopefully the bank's not undercut here. Out of the way, out of the way, out of the way. Jeez. Here comes a bunch of bikes. Outside of a car, it's the first people I've seen out here. Pretty cool. He's on a Harley. Pretty cool. And a T-dub. There was a T-dub. Oh, everybody knows I love my T-dub. And there was a T-dub. Looks like a couple years old model. Awesome. Well, everyone, as we descend back into Reno here, I just thank you for coming along on another adventure and riding along with me to the Fort Churchill State Park, Nevada State Park. And there's some little sights to see along the way in Virginia City. So I hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend here, and that your fall is going to be filled with some good riding and some good exploring. And again, just thank you so much for coming along, and have a good one. Take care.